Well, good evening. We're about to get started. We're going to play a little music at the beginning of this. I'd like you to share this out. Share the stream. Bring some people on. This is the third installment of Sandy AOC at Standing Rock Part 3. We had to leave you in our last show without finishing the video that they did, that Sandy did at Standing Rock. Because we stopped it and started to discuss what's being said.
Yep.
She said it was the most important video to watch out of all of them. So we'll be queuing that plus more. So we'll see you in a bit. Invite people. We'll be on soon. Missed the previous shows are on Facebook at 88.1 FM Fargo Moorhead. There's been 2 installments. It would help you understand what's going on in this show if you watch the first 2. So if you're just joining us for the 3rd show, go back and watch the other 2. It's going to be worth your time. This is current information, just released, just came up, even though it's 3 years ago. We'll talk more about that during the show.
Good evening. Welcome to A Mexican Crossing Lines with your hosts, Cindy Gomez-Schempp
and Duke Gomez-Schempp.
You're listening to 88.1 FM KPPPLP Fargo Moorhead, where we are adding local color to your airwaves. Tonight, I will be covering the 3rd installment of Sandy at Standing Rock. Sandy is AOC, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, in case you didn't know. And today, we'll be finishing up that video from her trip to Standing Rock, one of only 4, maybe, that she did while she was there, and the only one in which she actually interviews anybody from the camp. I mean, if you don't count the photo bomb that she did with the with one of the fire or one of the announcers at the Sacred Fire, the ones that would go up in the morning and wake everyone up, and with the bullhorn and stuff.
Oh yeah.
She went over in the morning in the darkness and did a video with the announcer in the background. And then she's like, "Hey, can I get you to be in the video for a second?" And she's like, "This is the guy that wakes us all up in the morning." Other than that, there aren't any other interviews with anybody from the camp, except for Armando Tellez from the Veterans Stand for Standing Rock and Susana Sandoval. And she tells you on her Facebook page that nobody knew about until just recently, when her book came out, or when a book containing a chapter on her trip to Standing Rock came out very recently in the Times article. This is the video you need to watch all the way through. This is the most important one of all the ones that she did do. So that's why I started with this video. And I want to finish going through that today and connecting some of the dots on what is a harmony keeper?
Yeah.
And what else does Susanna Sandoval stand for and do? What else is she connected to? And then more about Armando Tellez, and just to get into some of the history of what happened. What was Sandy really doing at Standing Rock? And what did she do post Standing Rock? All of that is going to be on tonight's show. So keep it dialed here and make sure that you share our programming with other folks that don't know about Sandy at Standing Rock. Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. This is a very important part of North Dakota history. And it's a very important part of the history of activism and protesting in America. And also of movements that are now international, which include topics like immigration. Very, very important for us to know where the awakening, quote unquote, as Alexandria put it, happened. Because Alexandria wasn't the only one that had her origin story from Standing Rock. You know, Linda Sarsour from the Women's March was there. Bernie surrogates of all types were there. You had all sorts of different politicians, including Tulsi Gabbard, also running for. Is she still running?
Yep.
She's not out yet.
Well, she's a congressperson in Hawaii still.
I know, but is she still running for president?
I don't know.
Is she out now?
She might have dropped out.
Well, I thought she was going to be one of the first ones to go, but there was all sorts of Congress members, Raul Grijalva among them, that was out at Standing Rock. But there were so many others, many people who then launched their political careers as soon as they left Standing Rock. So it's very important to understand what Standing Rock represented. What did it really mean? It wasn't just a place of peaceful, prayerful protest. But first, I want to thank all of you for spending time with us today. It has been a great Friday. Happy Friday to everyone. I hope that your week has been as fulfilling and as amazing for you all out there in the world as it has been for us in here in the studio. We've been getting a lot of work done. There's a lot of amazing things that are happening every single day that we have so much to be thankful for, especially our audience. Duke, how can folks follow us?
Well, thank you for being here tonight. You're watching us on 88.1 FM Fargo-Moorhead, our Facebook channel. And we're doing lives there. Thank you for sharing this out. We also do lives on YouTube. It's Duke 1517. We'll be doing some of those coming up. And that's just another platform, a different audience, but we owe it to the Facebook audience to get these out. These 3 shows on AOC being at Standing Rock. Very significant information that you should all be watching and have circulating around for other people to see. We also have the People's Press Project and Mexi-Can as Facebook pages. If you'd like to send us information, you can do it through Facebook. It seems like a really good way of getting information fast. But if you like old-fashioned email, you can email Cindy at kpppfm.com, or you can email me, Duke, at kpppfm.com. You can also find a public page of Cindy by going to @CindyGoSchempp. Now, I mentioned kpppfm.com. That's our main radio station website. That's where we embed videos that we do on pages to make it a little bit easier to have things in one spot. You know how Facebook gets when you start burying, you do more posts and the videos get buried down and down and down. Go to kpppfm.com and go to Mexican Crossing Lines to see those shows, and go to archives to see some of the other shows we do too. Also, when you're at kpppfm.com, don't hesitate to go to the donate tab, kpppfm.com/donate. We're a non-profit, non-commercial radio station. We broadcast in the Fargo-Moorhead region, and we do Facebook Lives, and we do YouTube Lives, and we're reaching an audience through our lives that is international. And all sorts of people have been following us. People support us. Since we're a non-profit, your donation is tax deductible. You can find out more information by going to kpppfm.com/donate. And thank you for your support. Thank you for the information. You know, some people, what they have to offer is just watching us, sharing what we're talking about, sharing our shows, and being there as someone who watches and listens to our information. And that is so valuable. And I thank you so much for doing that. We really appreciate it. And tonight's going to be a great show. Enjoy.
Duke, we have a growing audience in all sectors of the world and in all sorts of sectors of communities that you might not have even thought of. Did you realize, for example, that 1 out of 10 judges now recommends watching our show? It's true. Judges all across America are watching A Mexican Crossing Lines.
Yep.
Folks, our audience is growing, and so we have you to thank for that, for bringing us new people to watch our content, because you're going to see things on A Mexican Crossing Lines that you're not going to see anywhere else. The kind of investigative reporting that we do, the way that we put our shows together, the information that we bring to bear, the evidence, the weight of the evidence that we bring to bear on our shows, unparalleled in the programming that I have seen in the mainstream. So let's get right to that video, Duke. I want to go to that December 22nd. Folks, remember, Sandy took off to Standing Rock, and she was only there for a few days. She wasn't there for weeks. She wasn't there for months. She advocated for people to go to the camp and spend a lot of time there. She advocated for people to go to the camp on the day she arrived, even though the road that she traversed to get there was closed, and she had an armed confrontation with law enforcement because of it. She still advocated for people to come. She did so in this interview with Tejas and with Sandoval, and she did so afterwards. That's irresponsible and incredibly dangerous, knowing what we know now about what was at the camp, what was happening at the camp, and who was there. And yet, we know that Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez and her surrogates and the people that she was with at the camp were clearing the camp, were removing people from the camp, like Kathleen Bennett. So let's go to where we left off and listen to the rest of this interview, if you can call it that. That's what Sandy is calling it, because while she was at the camp, Sandy became a reporter. I'm going to show you some crazy things you did not know about Sandy tonight. You thought that finding out that Sandy had her awakening at Standing Rock, that she dubbed herself an activist while she was at Standing Rock for having been there like less than a week, and that she called herself a reporter, even though she only did this one interview. She got media passes and she was reporting at Standing Rock. If you think all of those things are revelations, just wait until you hear what she revealed. At the end of today's show, I'm going to show you what she revealed after she left the camp. So many people that we know, Duke, went to the camp being regular old American, European descent folk, and then left being Indians with Indian names. Many of them decided to say that even though they had never talked about or mentioned any kind of indigenous heritage until they went, or until after they had gone to Standing Rock, they told you they just found out. Turns out, after I was at Standing Rock, I found out, or while I was at Standing Rock, lots of people found out that they were Indians while they were at Standing Rock. How lucky is that? They had horrible internet out at this place. They had horrible communications, such that Sandy couldn't really live stream from the camp, which is why she doesn't do very many interviews or live streams while she's there. And yet, lots of people got notifications and information that they were now Indians while they were at the camp. Guess what? So did Sandy. Oh, but her grandpappy, he was not just any old Indian. No, sir. What kind of an Indian do you think he was?
Oh, shaman, probably.
A medicine man.
Ah.
She just found out. Did you know that?
Nope.
Did you hear that? Oh, see, I told you. I bring you things here on a Mexican Crossing Lines you're not going to see anywhere else. And it came out of her own Facebook page.
Okay.
Okay. This is from her own Facebook post. But first, okay, I'm saving that for later. Okay. First, we have to get through this interview that she did with these two people. Propagandaist Susana Sandoval, a harmony keeper, as she calls herself. I know they made up titles they made for themselves. Mm-hmm. And Armando Tejas, a U.S. Marine Corps veteran that is with the Vets for Standing Rock. Go ahead, rotate.
They were telling us that they had someone that came to their Unitarian church that had been on the reservation and was,
We need to move away from not understanding or being ignorant. I mean, part of the process is we need to educate ourselves. And no one of us has all the answers. I mean, there are people, we've had scientists, I have personally had conversations with scientists who treat water, environmentalists who understand what endangered species are. There's endangered species that live on this reservation that we're not even aware of, the buffalo, why certain species are protected, why do reservations exist? I mean, even in the history of our country, why in 2016 going to 2017 do we have those types of reservations? How ironic that Bismarck, when I toured Bismarck where they were showing me where the pipeline should have been or where it was originally routed to, there are internment camps that were there for Japanese that were imprisoned by President Eisenhower. How ironic that those...
So Japanese internment camps
were here.
Were here.
Yeah. And so, in a time period where, you're in the Christmas season,
Did you see them?
Yeah.
It's like,
what?
They had a moment where they're like, she's going through her script. She's like, we have to become educated, but nobody has any answers. That you can't rely on just one person having the answers. There's lots and lots of different answers, and endangered species, and also internment camps.
Yeah. And that's actually true. There was an internment camp. It's in the center of Bismarck. It was used for all sorts of propaganda, showing how the Japanese people had their own barbershop and their own store. And it was like, a nice place to live in Bismarck, North Dakota. Later, that whole compound became a tribal college for indigenous people. It became the 3 affiliated tribes tribal college. And you can still find the history. I never even knew about it. My parents grew up in Bismarck. Never heard about this. People don't talk about it. But that part is true.
Of course. But here's the thing. Internment camps also existed for the Jews, right?
Yeah.
And there was a Holocaust that killed 6+ million people, including 6 million Jews, but there was a lot of other, ethnicities and things that died during that Holocaust. And we have heard the comparison of the concentration camps where people were gassed and incinerated compared to the detention facilities in the United States. And what regardless of whether or not you think there are similarities between these two things, people want to always get into that debate. What you need to understand is where they laid the foundation for these types of arguments. This type of connection you're supposed to make. Concentration camps, Standing Rock police, pipeline companies. Got it.
Yeah.
Pipeline companies and... Okay, so fossil fuel energies, extractive energies are the same as genocide. I get it.
Yep, exactly.
Oh my gosh, Greta Thunberg, thank you. So you understand, you have to connect these things, and the connections are made by the people that are selling you these pieces of propaganda. And they began to do it at Standing Rock. The subtleness of that. Also, there's concentration camps here, and this is an important piece that you're supposed to link with what's happening right now at the Dakota Access Pipeline fight. That's why they're talking about it, right?
Exactly.
So Ocasio and Maria, her bartender friend, they're really both political persons. They look at each other. First, Sandy says, Well, hold on. Did you just say concentration camps? Here? Here? She points at the ground.
Yeah.
And she says, yeah, you know, Susana with her droopy eyes, like she's going to fall asleep. And then they look at each other and Maria's like horrified. It's, you know, like she's like, oh my God, did I just hear the word concentration camps? She's got her mouth kind of covered. And they make a point of like, whoa, you know, that was an aha moment that we're supposed to know. Okay, go on. Let's go on.
During the holiday season, we're talking about what family means. What about the human family? What about the fact that people have, you know, we complain about not having enough. We have plenty in the United States of America. We have some families that are privileged that have way more than many other families. I mean, when you can talk to a billionaire and they can complain about how they're losing millions of dollars every day, what about those of us who don't have access to that money? What about the Native Americans that have been placed on the reservations for most of their lives, whose major stream of revenue is a casino that also encourages a certain level of behavior, alcoholism, all kinds of other social
Because
issues.
they have no other choice to.
Right. And how many people move
What?
away from a reservation to actually get a
They have no other choice.
They have no other choice but to what? What is... They have no other choice but to... What did she mean by that, Duke?
I don't know. They have no other choice
Than to become
than to be
alcoholics?
rich, or, you know.
Or
they-
to they're encouraged into certain other behaviors, as Susana said?
Yeah,
And she
something like
says,
that.
and they have no choice.
Yep.
Notice that the talking point there is billionaires are basically the antithesis of Native Americans on reservations because they have access to all this money, and there are a lot of people that they don't have access to the millions. Okay. Well, what else is? Are they going to roll up into this whole convo about?
How many of those career options are open? How many colleges are in this reservation? Not many. Sitting Bull College. There might be maybe one or two other community colleges, but not really a university. And what does it take to actually create that institution that actually fortifies your community with a level of education that respects your culture instead of dictates one to you?
Oh, she's
and
getting mad.
recognizes that level of spirituality. It's just questions that we need to have. I mean, with the times, you know, when you're home with your family and you think about how we got to where we are, the Thanksgiving I celebrated here was with a new family. My kids were in Chicago, and I thank them for the sacrifice that they're making for me by allowing me to be here. And my family members back at home, caretaking for them and allowing me to be here to help push our country and move our country in a forward direction. I think it's really important.
Okay. So she was at Standing Rock to help move our country forward. Susana Sandoval, the woman being interviewed, the woman who's thanking her family for sacrificing the holiday and having her there for her purpose of helping to move the country forward.
Yeah.
Sounds like a campaign speech. And being there, being at Standing Rock, is going to move the country forward.
I guess.
Not just Standing Rock.
The whole country.
Right. And these people didn't even stop the pipeline. That didn't happen. There's a mess. There's a whole bunch of bad things that happened. But stopping the pipeline, helping the environment, helping poor people, none of those things happened. All right. What else you got? What else?
What does it mean to be American? That's what we need to be asking ourselves. You know, is this the country that we stand, what is it that we stand for at this time? We just had thousands of veterans here asking for forgiveness to Native Americans for being at war with them over what?
You don't have to put me on screen, but that that she described right there is Wesley Clark Jr. We just had, because you were working with Wes Clark with the veterans. Okay, go on.
And for what reason? It's not time for you to, we can complain all we want, but if you're not part of the solution, you're definitely part of the problem. And if you can blame it on all the people who voted for Trump, but you can also blame it on yourself if you're not actively participating.
There it is. There it is. Standing Rock and the campaign of many of these orgs, of these groups, of these political people was in opposition to Trump. How did she go from, you can blame it on these social ills, you can blame it on all the people that elected Trump? How in the hell did she make that leap? But she does. She does.
If you want to see a democracy that you haven't seen yet, pick up a phone, text message somebody, share a Facebook video. You know, we kid around about being Facebook warriors or whatever. Actually, keyboard warriors or whatever. I mean, that stuff works. I mean, we had a media blackout at a certain point here in Standing Rock where the media wasn't covering us. They were covering a loud-mouthed incoming president-elect who is still spewing out the same campaign rhetoric. I respect the office. I mean,
now, let me just say, by this point, the fact that they aren't just on a road trip, that they're two bartender ladies that went on a road trip, they've made it very clear that they planned the road trip to Standing Rock as a destination to find out how Trump happened, quote unquote. When they get there, and their only interview, they make it very clear that they have a political agenda because they're working with and have been working on the Bernie Sanders campaign. And they're all actors. Can you see how badly this is acted?
Yes.
Like, it's scripted. You can look at her eyes when she's talking. That's why she's got to look down. She doesn't want you to see her eyes darting all around her head. She's like, and she starts down one sentence and then she's like, oh crap, no, that's not how I was supposed to say it. Like, it's not her natural thoughts. She's trying to recite the whole thing that she's been practicing, but she's not very good at it. She's not. And so, you see her go from kind of almost like she's going to fall into a coma to getting angry, where she gets to the part of the speech where she's supposed to have more emotion. And she's like, if you want to see if you don't want to see a country, pick up a phone.
That's right. And text somebody.
And you could blame it on the people that voted for Trump, or you could pick up a phone. And she's like starting to, she's getting to that part in the crescendo. But don't forget, people can fake emotions. People can cry and lie. That's catchy.
Yeah, cry and lie.
They can cry and lie and put on a dog and pony show to make you believe they have emotions about this. To make it appear that they are victims. Remember the Melanie Stoneman crying in the videos where she lied about what she was doing in camp, calling herself a medic and saying, they shot us with the water cannons. Granted, part of you is saying, how can anybody watch that and not be able to tell that these people are all horrible actors? I think there is a lot of people who feel like if they're not willing to listen and they don't want to believe in somebody talking about climate change or the plight of indigenous peoples or all of these different things, that you're just being a jerk. You're just like closed-minded and You're not very progressive. You're not very, but you can listen to some of this and then investigate on your own and try to verify whether what you're hearing and what you're seeing is real. You have to dig a little bit deeper and start to put things together. Sometimes it can take months and months of investigating. For us, it's been, 3-4 years now?
Yep.
Same topic, same people, just so we could figure out what in the heck happened. And of course, they made sure to cover their tracks as good as they could. Mm-hmm. They weren't going to put it out there on a neon sign. Oh, this is all an act. See, if people knew what they really did out there, there could be a lot more lawsuits.
Yeah.
That could come their way. Mm-hmm. So I understand, but just know there was a political agenda, and it had to do with these women's careers in opposition to the GOP, specifically the Trump-Pence presidency. Go ahead.
I respect the individual, but I respect the office, because that is, that is a structure that is what was given. Just like many people disrespected President Obama, but when you're given that office, that's a huge responsibility. When you're given any kind of responsibility for other folks, and that responsibility we have to each other. And that's something for us to really think about during this time period. Didn't mean to lecture. I just wanted to thank everybody.
Thank you
for that thought process, because if you didn't donate for us to continue to be here, it would be that much more challenging to be here. So we thank you for the generosity of your hearts and the warmth of your homes coming here. And you're part of us.
Thank you guys. Thank you guys so much. Were there any other comments or questions? None yet?
That was the comment.
I just want to point out that they made sure to plug the donations.
Yep. Donate now.
And keep bringing it here and keep coming here.
Ton of shares, ton of thumbs
Awesome.
up,
Thank you guys
ton of
so
likes,
much.
So,
Can I?
I was just
add
going to
that?
say, I wanted to move on to
please.
speaking with you a little bit. I don't know.
That the big question that
That was funny as hell. I don't know if it's just me. You can watch back later and tell me what your thoughts were, but I can tell that both Maria and Sandy are sitting there wringing their hands and covering their mouths like this, watching these two people talk, partially, trying to cue them and get them to say their lines right, but also partially horrified because they're all over the place and they sound cuckoo.
Yep.
They sound nonsensical.
Yeah.
Their pattern of speech is very boring, monotonous.
Yeah, delivery was bad.
Poorly delivered. All of it. And you can tell she's like, well, time to wrap it up. And, do we have any internet questions? Totally snubbed U.S. Marine Corps veteran, blah, blah, blah.
Yep.
Armando Tejas. And the reason is he is an even slower talker than Susana Sandoval. And he seems to need a glass of water. He keeps doing that all throughout his speech when he's talking. Like, get that man some water. And then he's a super slow talker. Also very monotone, like way down here. So she's like, he says, may I say something? Because they let him talk a little tiny bit. He literally introduced himself and then he never talked again. Mm-hmm. And so he's like, what the hell? Hey, you're going to interview people and you're not going to finish interviewing me? Like, you're going to snub me that hard? And she's like, oh, yes. I was going to see if we could talk to you some more. Like she said, listen to it. Just rewind it a little tiny bit. She was not going to let him talk. I really don't think so. Just a little tiny bit, like quarter of an inch.
Donate for us to continue to be here, it would be that much more challenging to be here. So we thank you for the generosity of your hearts and the warmth of your homes coming here. And you're part of us.
Thank you guys. Thank you guys so much. Were there any other comments or questions? Nothing yet?
That was the comment. Ton of shares, ton of thumbs
Awesome.
up,
Thank you guys
ton of
so
likes.
much.
You know.
So,
Can I?
yeah, I was just
add
going to
that?
say, I wanted to move on to
please.
speaking with you a little bit, Armando.
That the big question that I'm sure we all get is, why are we still here? And granted, all of what was said is very true, is very precedented. And people ask, what can be done at home? I'm speaking as
It's very precedented. I don't think he knows what that word means. Go on.
a father, as a brother, as a son, a member of my community. It's about morality. How do we treat others? Are we willing to stand up when a bully is picking on someone who is who's not able to defend themselves? You know, as a parent, we want to protect our kids. We want to make sure that our kids are aware of how to protect themselves and how to use their voice, how to use nonviolence as
Did a bus load of kids just get out in
Well,
the casino, or what the
yeah,
hell's going
They're
on?
by the elevator, remember? You know,
He's watch this.
a way.
He's talking about bullying,
yep.
and I don't know what that has to do with Standing Rock.
No.
But this is already getting off to a rocky start. Go ahead.
Of protecting themselves. That's what we're doing here as well. We're learning not only how to use nonviolence as a way of protecting those who are here, but at the same time, there were people of generations before us that sacrificed their lives so that way we were able to live in a society that we currently live in now. People had to sacrifice. We are sacrificing. It's not easy. The people who are contributing to help us support us back home, I thank you. It's incredible that you're even willing to consider contributing to our personal needs. But we also understand that this is a reflection of society that has gone too long without addressing. What are we doing to stand up for our neighbor? What are we doing to really protect this, for the safety of our community? I want you to
I just have to reiterate to you. This guy is talking about, what are you doing for your community? What are you doing to protect your neighbors? Literally on the day before he and his crew, who are sitting in the hospital where Mary Trujillo is, right before they take away Kathleen's guardianship, her rights over her mother, away from her, and throw her in jail. Take her away from her family, put her mother in an early grave. And this guy is sitting there telling you, hey, what are you doing for your community? Mm-hmm. He probably just left the hospital where he's been, stalking and watching, or the hotel where Kathleen was, where he was watching, where a bunch of these so-called security people at the camp that were with the veterans groups were watching and deciding, like they were the judge, jury, and the executioner, the lives and the fates of families of Native people like Kathleen's. And they didn't care about the outcome or the community or the safety of those people. They didn't care about taking 6 months of Kathleen's freedom away. Do you know what happens when you're put in jail for 6 months? What happens to the rest of your life, your belongings, your work, your friendships?
Falls to pieces, yep.
Her mother went to an early grave. How can anything that this man is saying about security have any value to anyone? I don't know. I call BS. I don't think that man has the right, especially knowing that he was working with the people that framed Kathleen Bennett. Mm-hmm. Go ahead.
I wanted to leave that with you. What are you doing for your household, for your neighborhood, for your surrounding community? What are your kids learning on what they can do? It doesn't require money. It doesn't require a lot of resources or things that they have to give away, other than their awareness as well as their compassion for life, compassion for another. And as a father, son, and brother, I think all that applies.
I wanted to ask you a little bit more. So for those of you tuning in, once again, this is Susana. She's a harmony keeper at camp. And this is Armando. He's a Marine Corps veteran and protector supporting Susana and all the other camp leadership. And I wanted to talk to you a little bit about that background of yours as a father, as a Marine Corps veteran. How did all of that come into your decision to come? What was that process like, going from California, living your life, to being the person that you are today, being here?
As the eldest of 9 siblings, I grew up with the responsibility of ensuring that those in my household were protected, were represented, and if at minimum, that they were okay. We moved around a lot, so I was also accustomed to changing my environment and having to simply adjust and being able to adapt and being able to assimilate in those new environments. The Marine Corps, I gave an oath to protect. Now, if there's a perception that we are only to protect the country of foreign terrorists, well, we have domestic terrorists as well. That can be defined as an oppressive government, that can be defined as an abusive law enforcement agency, that can be defined in a lot of ways. However, my oath still remains. My uniform nor my branch does not determine that commitment to protect. So as a brother, it was a given. I recognized that there were too many people that were being harmed because they were not being protected. Or rather, the opposition was so great that they needed support. It was not much of a question of what turned on my light bulb as it was a matter of how was I going to get here? And it was because of people that are out there that were willing to share their experience and their stories. And particularly with Aura Vasquez, who has said she was going back to Standing Rock, I took up on
Aura Vasquez, particularly with Aura Vasquez, he says.
Mm-hmm.
He mentions Aura Vasquez because she is also part of the group of people that were there with Susana Sandoval and that are working together with Sandy and her group, Sandy and Josh and Maria. So, also, I don't think that's how terrorist designations work.
Yeah.
He's like, there's a perception that you're supposed to protect as a veteran or as a person that takes an oath to our military, that you're only supposed to protect from terrorists. But it depends. You could determine that an oppressive police force or an abusive police force or oppressive government are
Domestic terrorists.
domestic terrorists.
Yeah. I don't think that's right.
Is that correct, Duke?
Nope, it's not.
Is that how it works?
No.
Okay, I'm confused then. All right. Go on. Let's see what else, what other advice he has here about
on that opportunity. I fortunately, with the election season over, I was available, and at the same time, my family is also accustomed to me not being around for the holidays. That holidays are no different from any other day. It's how we live our life. My family is close. We can celebrate life in any part of the year, any time of the year. But this was a matter that required my attention, my physical presence now, that whether you look at me as a veteran or as a sibling or as a brother, as a father, altogether the same. It was my upbringing that I was aware that I cannot expect other people to do something for others if I'm not doing it myself. So that's what ultimately just inclined me to be here.
Yeah. I think, we were on the drive on the way down, and we had that discussion too, like, why come? And then we were also discussing a lot of the arguments against coming, because we encountered those as well, and we talked about some of the reasons that people gave, like, you shouldn't come.
It's not your fight.
It's not your fight. It's not your business. And we discussed that as well, where it's like, are we only supposed to fight?
I know Sandy is smarter than that. You know how I know? Because on December 6th, was it December 6th? Yes, right? December 6th, 2016, there was a blizzard at Standing Rock.
Mm-hmm.
there was a massive blizzard. In fact, Bill Runningfisher accused Kathleen Bennett of leaving her mom in a Green Army tent, naked from the waist down, covered in her own excrement and urine, and zip-tied to a chair. He said that happened on December 6th. At the very same time that this happened, this blizzard came out of nowhere. The temperature that day dropped like 50 degrees.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
I mean, it literally came out of nowhere. It stranded a lot of people there. And in North Dakota, especially in a rural area like where this encampment was, you can't just get snowplows and roads all taken care of and cleared out and then evacuate people out of an encampment that's filled with snow very easily. It's not something logistically that you can do. Many of the veterans that were there that have the capability of caring for themselves and doing all this stuff, they too were stranded. They too lacked housing. They too didn't have the necessary resources. So for her to be so tone deaf on that particular front and not mention that there was warnings for people to go because of the weather, they also closed the camp. Shortly after December 6th, they said, "Go home, everyone. The rest of this fight will take place in the courtroom. Goodbye." And yet somehow, here's Sandy telling people, every one of these people is saying, you know, we considered it. What should we do? Should we go out to the camp or not? And, you know, some people were saying, can you help? If you can help, then you should go. If you can't help, then maybe you shouldn't go. But what about the weather conditions? What about the safety conditions? What about the conditions for people in the camp to stay at the camp, especially around the time of year that you went there? She didn't think about that. She didn't talk about that. Go on.
Our food or our water, and then if so, that's a very lonely kind of, not as a lonely, but it's selfish.
It's quite poor.
Yeah, and it's also a much more vulnerable position to be in if the only person that's going to protect you is you.
Well, especially when the fight is against something like an oil company, you know, none of us individually in our little communities can stand up to that if we're not willing as a country and as a, you know, human race to support each other in that kind of fight.
Yeah. And again, if you guys have any questions or anything like that, let me know. Let any of us know. Was there anything else, like any other topics that you had wanted to bring up?
Well, I don't know if we want to talk about this right now, but I did wonder whether or not, I know that I don't want to take away the accountability of people going out and looking up treaties and stuff, but when you brought that up, I wondered if there was some background about the history of treaties that have been broken and the indigenous
over
people.
500 treaties have been broken. I mean, Google away. Go back to the beginning of how land was acquired by the United States of America. And there was trading routes that have been disrespected that we should be paying for the rights to travel and transport through even reservations. And so those of you who have that kind of background, you need to, we really need to be aware of that. The way we look at, in a capitalist society, the way we look at the rights of workers and that, I mean, there's some question of how the Dakota Access Pipeline hired undocumented workers and they broke their union contract responsibility and were hiring non-union workers even though there was a union contract.
What in the hell?
Those are responsibilities. And so
Sandy asked you a question.
I would say do your own research.
About treaties.
Yeah, I mean, she's talking about union busting.
For a minute, I thought that Sandy said trees. I thought we were talking about trees.
I did too. And I was like, What about the trees? There's hardly any trees there in the middle of the
I
northern
know.
plains.
I'm like,
there's something about trees?
broken
Yeah, then they
trees.
figured out it's treaties. Okay.
Yeah, and then I'm like, oh, she's asking her a treaty question. Because, of course, she's over there sitting there like she's an expert on everything Native
Yeah.
American, and, you know. And she's like, oh, all of them, Google away.
Yep.
My answer is non-answer, probably because she doesn't really know about the treaties.
Yeah.
She called the Fort Laramie Treaty
Fort Larry.
Fort Larry.
Yep.
She called it Fort Larry.
Or was it Fort Harry? I can't remember.
No, it was
Fort
Larry. It was
Okay, that's
Larry.
right,
And I'm
Larry.
like, nope, there's no treaty named Fort Larry. Didn't happen. That's what she said.
Yep, I remember.
So you can see like the cracks just like all over this interview where, you know, honeybee keeper or whatever she calls herself and her Fort Larry Treaty speech are just bombing.
Yep.
In my opinion, I'm like, ooh, it's like cringe worthy.
Yep.
Let's watch some more of it.
There's a little bit left.
Take the time, you know, take some time away from watching TV.
Ah,
You know, and
take from Facebook, right?
Accept that. Accept that.
Quiet.
from Facebook, there are some folks that are developing some infographics to kind of give some people some timeline. I know that there were different journalists that said that in their coverage that they were going to be developing some of those. But I think it's important. I mean, take the time to do the level of research of how the U.S. government relegated Native Americans to reservations, and how in other states.
Yeah, how we got to this point
How
where
we-
Native
yeah.
American peoples are given this defined space. Like, how did that space come to be, and why is that the system that we have today?
And if I can just contribute, and probably you know much more about this, but there, what's that? Oh well, you know. There was an incident. Hi everybody. Hey. Probably to me one of the most striking and really horrible examples of a treaty being broken was when Andrew Jackson directly addressed I forget which nation it was, but
This is hilarious.
Yeah.
Nobody there can name a broken treaty.
Yeah.
No one there can do it. Not a single person. So the cameraman goes, oh,
I know something.
darn it, got a punt.
Yeah.
Let me jump in front of the camera. He's like, I have a good example of a treaty that was broken. I can't remember which nation he was addressing. But anyway. Go on.
Yeah, there's only 50 seconds left.
Go
of this.
ahead.
But it's the speech is recorded in history where he keeps saying,
Yeah.
"Listen," and then it would be followed by a paragraph that was this, incredible superlative. As long as the grass is green and the water flows, this land will be yours. And to have a legal document between two nations so incredibly just completely violated in every sense of the word, and the idea was, okay, if you guys just go there onto that other side of the river, we'll never bother you again. Then, of course, that changed. And then, of course, that changed until suddenly you find yourself on just this small piece of land when the whole country was yours. But, that's my...
That's it. Done.
Oh, wow. Okay. Oh, wow. So that was the big, important video
Yeah.
of all of the videos she did at Standing Rock that she wanted for you to see. That thing. And it's very sad. We're going to go to the GoFundMe that they posted. This is the GoFundMe. AOC GoFundMe post on December 21st. Alex AOC's Facebook page, tagged in Jamestown, says, update, thank you to everyone who has contributed thus far. We are now at $815, way over our original $500 goal for Standing Rock.
Yeah.
Shock emoji. Can we get to Christmas? Can we get to 1,000 by Christmas? Also, Who would have thought high-speed live video updates would get spotty in the Dakotas? Laughing emoji. No worries. We'll keep the offline content coming for you guys. That did not happen.
Nope, not for 3 years.
The online content, nothing. It goes on. Keep an eye out. We're still about 2 hours away. I know I said that in the live stream a while ago, but I misunderstood where we were. Oops. They got lost.
Yeah.
So 2 hours ago when I was doing the live stream, I got lost. So we are exactly where we were still, where we began. And we raised extra money. We raised more money. We're going to keep the content coming. No, they did not. And then in this December 23rd post, they share a video. This was the day that Kathleen Bennett and her grandson called me from the hospital to tell me that their grandmother was going to see you. They were not allowed to talk to her. And this is what they were doing at the camp. This is a screen capture of a video that they posted celebrating that they reached doubling their GoFundMe goal.
Ah, they got 1,000.
And they're at the camp, by the way, now.
Okay.
Thanks to whoever put in over the $1,000 mark, we will get a sing-along video going. And in this next video, you'll see what they were doing in their little celebration here.
Otte gasolina, otte gasolina. I want to Yo, you don't like the reggaeton, man? Come on, what's that? Daddy Janky, Daddy Janky, Daddy Janky en la casa, Daddy Janky.
Oh boy.
And that is the shortest of the videos that they did at Standing Rock. But I think you'll thank me for not showing you the rest of the other ones in their entirety.
Yeah.
Because I think you're getting a taste for the quality, right?
Yeah, yeah.
And I wanted to show you what the Harmony Keepers are. Here's the Harmony Keeper post she made. On December 22nd, update today, Dapple has cut off the internet line to Ochetti.
The internet line.
You're going to have to explain the technology on this to me, Duke. Oh, I know. I am not a millennial, wide-eyed, going to learn everything about the world at Standing Rock like Sandy here. But I thought she was all about,
Technology
energy
savvy,
policy and technology and science. How do you not know the basics of the interwebs? I don't get that. But this is what she said. They cut it off. We've brought a Harmony Keeper and 2 others to an offsite location, and we're about to go live with them shortly.
Yeah.
So that's the interview they did with
Yep. They're hyping it up.
So she says in that post that they had 2 others. We've got a Harmony Keeper and 2 others. That means Armando and someone else.
Someone else jumped.
Someone else that wasn't on their little interview live stream.
Yeah.
Because I think if it was Maria, she would have just told us it was Maria. She isn't interviewing Maria. Mm-hmm. And she's talking about taking people to an offsite location.
Yeah.
That's the casino.
Mm-hmm.
Why didn't you just say we're going to the casino?
Yeah.
Everybody would have understood that.
Mm-hmm.
Offsite location sounds like some black ops operation.
Yeah, yeah.
We're taking 2 Harmony Keepers.
Yes.
To
an undisclosed location. We'll be with you shortly. And that part of the country has cell towers. I mean, the internet's delivered through the cell tower network. The casino, which is like 9 miles south of the camp, had internet. They had internet, and that's where they went to actually get internet. And there was internet at the camp, on and off. It was tough.
It was spotty.
You go up on the hill and stuff, and there's Facebook Hill where you went to the top of the hill and you got
But
good
wasn't it
reception.
interesting how certain people had internet
Yeah.
and could live stream for hours and hours, and their internet never went away?
Yep, exactly.
But that was a handful of people, and they were very suspicious to me later
Yeah.
on because,
Yep.
plus, there were people at the camp that were complaining of having all the internet just like fall out, especially during events where there were clashes with police. And people like her are confirming it in this post, yet she did nothing to investigate it or tell people what happened.
Yep, or hold anyone accountable to actually
Or hold
cut.
exactly.
If the government cut the internet, I mean, that's a violation of, utilities, and so that would be something that they would get fined for, they'd be brought up, and it would be talked about, but no, just let it go.
Oh, but did they pursue lawsuits against any of the entities, against Morton County, against they didn't pursue anything. They raised millions of dollars to supposedly defend all the water protectors and ended up defending a handful of them. Not even all of the people that should have gotten defended by them got defended. So it leaves you with a lot of questions about what exactly these folks were doing. I mean, that post of Alex Ocasio-Cortez made me think she was trying to pass herself off as an activist, journalist, now possibly 007.
Yep.
Kind of person. Okay, next one we have the deported vets post. And I wanted to show you this because this was done all the way going back to January of 2015.
Okay.
Okay. Deported Veterans Support House. And I want you to scroll to the bottom. This is in Tijuana for an event on January 6th of that year. And if you scroll to the bottom, you're going to see right there at this event, they had the Border Angels.
Oh, wow.
Okay. Now go back to the top, and the Deported Veterans Group, this post was one of the posts on this woman's Facebook page.
Oh, AOC's?
No, Susana Sandoval.
Okay.
We're talking about the woman that she interviewed.
All right.
Susana Sandoval posted this post all the way back, going back to 2015, that includes an event in Tijuana. And of course, as you know, now we have the deported veterans in Tijuana working alongside Pueblos Sin Fronteras, Al Otro Lado, Veterans for Peace, and the Border Angels.
Yeah, the Border Angels way back
Same
then.
people. And Susana Sandoval is also now connected to the groups that are running the Border Support Network.
Well,
And Evan Duke, who was also at camp, who's part of the veterans group that I showed you, was the place where she went, where AOC went. They're all involved in the Border Support Network currently. Now, I wanted you to look at Susana's LinkedIn for a second. Because in her LinkedIn, it talks about her company. And her company is Sana Global. She is the executive director. That is her.
she's a CEO of Santa Global Strategy,
Yes.
Media, Policy, Community Development.
So she does PR work,
Yeah.
right? Am I reading that correctly? She's a PR person, like Maggie Day,
Yep.
like Seven McDonald, like a lot of the people that Winnie Wong and Bernie Sanders' campaign was working with
Yep.
at the time at the camp. And now let's go to the next one here. I want to share an article with you in which it says that she was there doing that work that she does, which we just learned is being a PR person for Phyllis Young. This is from an article of 2016, December 4th, to be precise, titled "Do help me."
In the spirit of Sitting Bull and Crazy Horse.
And in it says, Chicago poet Susana Sandoval has been fasting at Standing Rock ever. Excuse me?
What?
She was fasting.
That's why she looks so tired.
She was on a hunger strike? Maybe that's why, honey. It could have been. Maybe she didn't have enough nutrition. But
No, she says several years ago she was arrested while fasting 17 days in front of the White House to call for a humane immigration reform.
right, but
She had been fasting at Standing Rock.
she also went and did it at Standing Rock.
Yep.
She fasted in front of the White House for 17 days for immigration reform, and she also went and fasted at Standing Rock. So now we're having a little bit more of a look into her background,
Yeah.
going all the way back. And it says this time she is not counting, but it must be close to 30 days. When she left Tucson, she returned to Chicago, picked up her daughter, and has been at Standing Rock ever since. Her stay there has been a spiritually transforming experience. There it is.
Yep.
And the camp itself, she says, is a ceremony. You're in church.
Yep.
It is
Continually.
a church. There is the religious connection. Do you see it?
Yep. Definitely.
Do you see how it's cult-like, and it's like when you come here, the sacred fire, you
Yep.
follow these rules, boom, boom, the propaganda, and who's selling it? Sandy is.
Yep.
Sandy's selling it. That's AOC. If you're late to the game, I recently discovered that the real nickname used by almost everyone around her, including her mom, for her is not her given name, her birth name, Alexandria, but rather it was Sandy. She never called herself Alexandria. And I don't care how much your given name is truly Alexandria. If nobody ever called you that, it would be weird as hell for you to change your name into that right before running for office. At least I think it is.
Yep.
Am I the only one that thinks that's really weird?
Yeah, I think so too.
I mean, it's just weird. Anyway, this is the article in diverseseededucation.com. diverseseededucation.com. And can you read the next paragraph? It says, when she left Tucson, she returned to Chicago. Oh, no, sorry.
No. She gives
That
me
one.
daily updates and tells me about all the original nations represented there from across the continent. From my perch, all I can do is write and burn copal for those who have chosen to use their bodies to oppose the oil pipeline. She has actually not written very much lately, save for a draft of a poem. I prodded her, and thus here it is.
No, don't read the poem.
I'm not going to read the poem.
You better not read that poem. You better not read that poem.
No.
Don't do it.
I'm
Okay.
not.
I want you to scroll down. Skip the poem.
Okay,
Move past the poem.
we'll pass the poem.
There you go.
It's a long poem. There we go.
It's a long poem. Okay. At least it ends with "May God bless America." Okay. Anyway, it says, in North Dakota, the governor today appears to be harsher than the inhospitable winter. He's given the water protectors until December 5 to vacate the treaty lands of the Ocheti-Sacoan. Notice every single place I have shown you that all of these people know they're not supposed to be there anymore.
Yep.
At the time that she is at camp advocating for people to go, advocating how important it is for people to continue to go there and continue to donate. Kathleen's mother was taken from her and put in an early grave almost entirely on the perception that she shouldn't have been there because it was too cold for her to be there.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, all of these other young, able-bodied people were also stranded and could not leave, just like her and her family. Meanwhile, a lot of other people were being invited to the camp, and Sandy was one of the people doing it. It defies logic that she didn't know. She had to have known. So let's look at the rest of this where she talks about Phyllis Young. This part is important. She says that amid this backdrop, there was the horrific violence of November 20, where rubber bullets and water cannons were used. And then it says there is an absence of spirit on behalf of governmental authorities, Sandoval tells me, directing me to Phyllis Young, an elder from Standing Rock and the Ocheti-Sacoin camp coordinator. So the camp coordinator is Phyllis.
Yeah.
She's also the one that was paid to be the pipeline's liaison with the pipeline company, by the tribe. They also paid her to do that. Now, Sandoval is a PR person, as we just learned from her LinkedIn, and she did work directly for Phyllis Young. There it is.
Yep.
In ink.
There it is.
Right. So let's see what this article says about Susana being a harmony keeper. Let's take a look at this. This is from Planet Jackson Hole.
Planet Jackson Hole.
I don't know about that. It seems a little bit
Jackson Hole, Wyoming.
Suspect. It is Jackson Hole, Wyoming. So, in this article, in the second paragraph, it reads that Susana Sandoval and Aldo Seoane will Skype in for the free event. It says locals will have the last chance to hear from prominent activists involved in efforts near the Standing Rock Reservation in North Dakota, Tuesday, January 3rd at the Pink Garter. What's the Pink Garter? It sounds like this is January of 2017. There were still activists and people were being invited to an event to hear these people speak. And these people were none other than Susana Sandoval and Aldo Seoane. You know that name, Seoane, don't you?
That sounds really familiar.
This Seoane is Desiree Kane's latest beau that we know of.
Oh, okay.
She might have a new one. But as far as I know, when she first arrived at camp, she was with Wiaka Eagleman. Remember that?
Yep.
And then she moved on to the guy that she did the Indian Problem with, the artist. What was his name?
Remy?
Yes, Remy. That was his name. And he just goes by his artist name. That's like one name, you know? Like Sting.
An unpronounceable syllable.
I think we actually knew his name. I just don't remember it off the top of my head. But then she ended up with Aldo Seoane. And of course, we know that Desiree Kane was one of the PR people working with Winnie Wong.
Yep.
Started off at Netroots Nation. Also has connections to Winnie Wong and the ladies that built the Women's March. So it says in this article that the pair of them would be Skyping in, and that Sandoval, who's an immigrants' rights activist from Chicago who works with Harmony Keepers, Seoane, co-founder of the Native American activist group Wika Agli, rallied against the Keystone XL oil pipeline and had appearances on the Rachel Maddow show.
Oh, really?
Yes, I told you all these people end up getting in front of cameras and TVs.
Oh, yeah.
doing the loop of the things like that. So that is who this woman is also. She's also a mouthpiece, right?
Yep.
Of sorts. And so National Geographic's also featured her
Really?
in an article. Yep. Let me share, first of all, the article link for the Harmony Keepers so that folks can check that out for themselves, read the whole thing. I don't have the time to do that now, but you can check it out for yourselves. And then the National Geographic article link is here, so you guys can check that one out as well. It's a really long article with lots of pictures and very storyteller type of writing. And there's Sandoval on the right. And it's set. Look, by the way, guys, everybody, I want you to do me a favor after this show, just for my own amazement and amusement. Go look up the first guy that's got the bandana on his face on YouTube, and just randomly pick a video of his. Remember, this is an article in National Geographic's called "There Are Defiant Water Protectors at Standing Rock. President Trump advances Dakota Access and Keystone XL pipelines despite protests by hundreds of indigenous people." And it's dated January 26, 2017. And it features people such as Tara Hauska, one of the lawyers of the Water Protector Legal Collective, and also one of the members of the Bernie Sanders campaign.
Oh, yeah.
They just keep popping up. And then they feature this. Louis Grassrope is also in there, one of the headsmen. Oh, yeah. Again, another person that was involved in having Kathleen and her family removed from the camp. And let's see, how many more of the people that are in here are related to this investigation that we did? Oh, Phyllis is in here, of course. And then you have Miss Sandoval and Mr. Ant Locke. I apologize if I'm mispronouncing that. Ant Locke of the Lower El-Waha Klallam tribe from Washington is a member of the Savage family. That is the name of a musical group, hip-hop group, I guess, rapping thing, musical thing, made up of, I don't know, you'll have to tell me yourself when you watch them. Yeah. Watch a video and then tell me, is it his family members? Are they little kids in the neighborhood? Probably, maybe friends, or I don't know. A native hip-hop band. Okay, they call themselves a native hip-hop band that advocates for indigenous rights. Notice it says, the relevancy of this rapper in a National Geographic protest article is that they do native advocates for indigenous rights. Yep. I would like you to try to watch some of those videos
and see if they do.
I just any values that you would like for children of any kind. They don't have to be indigenous. They could be of any kind. Just like saying, hey, and I would like to note that there were a lot of musicians and a lot of rappers at the camp. There were a lot of people, a lot of different kinds of entertainers that were there that were making a name for themselves. And I think Susana was one of them. Susana's picture says under the caption, a member of the Purepecha people of Michoacan, Mexico. So remember I told you she was a Mexican with, ancestry in Mexico? Yep. And she's from Michoacan, which a lot of the people that were originally in that, The native people that were originally in that region and who still have ancestors living in that region are the Purepecha, but not only the Purepecha, but a majority. But she's carrying a little medicine bag around her neck in the picture. Look at this picture. She's trying to carry around what looks like a little medicine bag. Maybe she would say it was a purse. I'm thinking this is a costume, okay? When you show me that you have something that Purepechas are not carrying around today, is not, and you've got an aim button on your medicine tag.
Yeah.
You're playing Indian, okay? You're putting on a costume. That's my opinion, my take on that.
All right.
And it's annoying. Does it not bother you at all? I mean,
Oh yeah, fake.
it's fake. Like I'm an Indian.
Fake Indians, it always bothers me, because I've seen it as like, it's something that's went on in the 70s. They did all that. The hippies went out and they just took Indian names. I've named myself whatever, and they named themselves something that sounds Indian.
Yeah.
Walk around with beads and braids and feathers and things. It's like the people at Burning Man. The Burning Man, fake Indians, and and two is that indigenous populations, lost, 95% of the people died from disease, were murdered. The genocide of Native Americans, that in 500 years to make a comeback and to hold on to cultural knowledge, so much was lost. And there's been so much resurgence from Standing Rock with old traditions that people just kind of are remaking up, and including a bunch of new wannabe Indians and naming them Indians is all part of that too. It makes me really disappointed. It makes me mad because people try to ride on it for their own glory.
Well, here's the thing. We all do have indigenous blood. Mexicans do. I mean, not all Mexicans have indigenous blood, but a lot of people that have Mexican ancestry do, to some degree or another. And a lot of ancestors survive of many of the northern Native American nations here. 50-some million people. So, if you think about that, there's people walking amongst you that have indigenous roots that are wearing Nikes or, that are running a law office downtown or sitting in Congress. But they don't have to wear a war bonnet. Doing those kinds of things is reserved for certain special events, times. Mm-hmm. When there is a dance, when there is a ceremony that's performed for a reason. You got a whole bunch of people performing ceremonies for a protest and starts looking a little bit weird.
Yeah, looks like a movie scene.
Yeah, it does. And you start calling everything sacred and putting upon a manufactured camp that got torn down in like one day sacred and acting like this is a church like Susana Sandoval just did. Mm-hmm. That's propaganda, folks. That's not real. That's illusion. So then they doubled their GoFundMe. They posted about it. Yay, we're leaving. Bye.
Yeah, bye. We got the money. We're gone.
Yeah, pretty much. That's what it says. Yep. And then in this next post, they show you they made over $1,000 on there. Mm-hmm. But look at who organized the GoFundMe for them.
Ah.
Let's scroll down so we can see who organized it. The beneficiary is Susana Sandoval.
Yep.
For organizer, she calls herself, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. So she went out there as in the capacity of being a road trip with her friends.
Yep.
In the awakening, on the eve of their awakening. But really, she ended up having to, she was juggling the hats. There was so many. I mean, she's a reporter. She was, an activist.
Mm-hmm.
And then they leave. And so they post a goodbye post with a little video. It's a really long video. I'm going to show you a quick excerpt from it. But they're like, we're out of here. And can you go back to that post really quick? Really quick?
Mm-hmm.
I just wanted to make sure. Oh, this one had 3.5 thousand views. So this one actually had more views than those interviews that she did.
Okay. Yeah.
I bet that people watched the video where she ate hot Cheetos for the first time more than they watched that interview.
Exactly.
I don't think she really cared about how many people saw. Okay, here's the video clips that accompany this. I want you to listen to what she says about the reason why they didn't have very many videos, about what happened to the internet.
Yep.
And about what they're going to do to share all of the the videos that they made, the pictures they got with their audience, because they're going to share it for sure.
Oh shoot, like the
Oh.
Hi everyone!
What's up?
How are you?
Hello.
I feel like it's been so long since we've seen all
I
of you.
know.
I know. I
Like a
feel like
day,
it's
right?
been I know, but I feel like it's been forever since
Seriously.
we talked to you guys. It's been the last time was with Susanna and Armando, but we're so happy to be streaming with you now. As we said before, DAPL, the Dakota Access Pipeline, while we were there, legitimately cut the internet line
Yep.
to Ocheti, Chacoim, Standing Rock Camp. So, right?
Yep.
Yeah, so they legitimately just cut. I mean, the pipeline construction force just cut the wireless.
What?
And cut off the internet. They also
The pipeline construction force
Yep.
cut the wireless. The pipeline people did it.
Really.
Didn't you just hear her say that?
Yep, I heard that, but I never heard it before.
Okay. She also said, by the way, that, sorry we didn't do any more live streams while we were here. We're leaving now. The last live stream that we did was when we interviewed Susana and Armando.
That was 2 days earlier.
Yeah. So they didn't do anything else. Okay. And this is the rest of the explanation as to why.
this is a very real thing that's happening. So they also scramble cell phone signals.
When you have to say, this is a very real thing that's happening, you might be exaggerating or lying. Because, she just heard herself say this ridiculous thing out loud. The pipeline company cut off, like he went out there with an axe and went...
Chopped it right off.
To the camp.
Yep, specifically to the camp.
To Ocheti Chaco and camp. And then she goes, wow, that sounded wacko. And she goes, this. She can hear you laughing. She can hear you laughing. And so she's like, this is very real thing happening here. Rewind it. I have to see that part again because she couldn't keep a straight face. She didn't believe herself.
Also scramble cell phone signals. They try to make it. This is and cut off the internet. They also. This is a very real thing that's happening. So they also scramble cell phone signals. They try to make it as difficult as possible for people to connect and communicate with each other and with the outside world. So
there's intentional disruption of communications, which is classic,
yeah, I mean, it's just classic. So anyways, apologies. I wish we could have live stream from camp, but don't worry. We've taken a lot of video for you guys. We've taken so many photos for you guys. So don't worry about that. We are going to be sharing that with you, and you're definitely not going to be missing out in that respect. So we're super excited.
So what should we fit? Where should we start? From where we left off on the day when we?
Yeah, maybe.
All right, you can go watch the rest of their 1 hour long rambling video. I mean, it's worth paying attention to what she said in every single one of these videos, even if you find them boring, because there's a lot of nuggets of information about what she was actually out there doing. So the next video that she does is on a Google Hangout, which is kind of like a conference call with a whole bunch of different people.
Yeah.
And the video starts out sideways, which she did. I didn't do. So, I mean, that's her bad. And then it gets fixed eventually. It's really long. But what I wanted you to get from this, here's a screen capture of the post so you can see what they had, who they had on this show, or this live stream, excuse me. From Alex OC's page, it says, so you want to go to Standing Rock? This is on the 28th of December. She left on the 24th, folks.
Yep.
This is getting closer and closer to when there's a lot of more activity with police and clashing and people having to leave very quickly from the camp. And she's still inviting people to go.
Yep.
We're going live with 4 friends interested in visiting Ochetti with Bruna Maya, Jonathan Rempel, Jonathan Pazamino, Justin Nathan, Maria Swisher, and Joshua Pereira. Okay?
Yep.
So, this is an excerpt from what they were telling people. I want to summarize for you what you're about to hear. And that is basically that they are urging for people to go out to the camp still. And that now, after having been there for a total of like 3 days, they're the experts on Indian camp at Standing Rock.
Okay.
And everything. I think they maybe took a crash course of being harmony keepers like Susanna. And that's how they got, I don't know.
So they got their Starbucks coffee afterwards.
Yeah, I don't know what happened, but they suddenly have all of the and you're going to hear them. You're going to hear Maria and Joshua jump on and excitedly talk about all the knowledge about the Indianness that they're about to impart to the world. What you need to understand, this is sacred and that is sacred. I'm like, oh my God. It happened. They became a shaman.
Yep.
No, but they're really. I'm making light of it, but I want you to listen to how that is relayed in this video, and also they are talking about the organization at camp on a much broader level that anyone that was there for 3 days could have possibly known about.
Mm-hmm.
Unless they planned it all. Roll tape.
Hello everyone. I'm Justin Nathan, and I met Alex a couple weeks ago in the coffee shop with my friend John, and we were inspired by your journey. And I myself have worked in New York City for years, but also I was involved with the shamanic community here in New York, and sort of involved with many of the indigenous traditions. And so I'm very interested in going and giving visibility. I was inspired, Alex, by the fact that you said that there was very little media coverage this time of year, and I was hopeful to go there myself and read some articles on what's happening, just to try to give a bit more visibility. And I see this as a much larger fight for what's happening in the world with respect to nature and the environment and balance and reverence for the earth. And I'm just excited to be a part of that process.
All right, cool. It looks like we have. Oh, awesome! We got Josh and Maria. Yay! I'm so excited. Hey, guys.
Oh my gosh, you look like you're in a tropical paradise. Sorry, back to the chocolate.
That's awesome. Oh my gosh. Okay, great. I'm so excited that Maria and Josh are in. Let me make sure this is up. Okay, so Josh, Maria, why don't you just give yourself a quick intro? Everyone knows who you are already, but whatever. What's up? What are you guys up to? Where are you?
I'm Maria. Obviously, the three of us were in Standing Rock together. Sandy and I met originally working at the coffee shop / Flats Fix. And all of our shifts were always...
Notice she calls her Sandy.
Oh, yeah.
Sandy and I met working at the coffee shop.
Mm-hmm.
This is after she went to Standing Rock, right? And created a social media page that she put all of this stuff on, which she named Alex OC. Hence the name AOC.
Yep.
This is after that. And they're still saying, Sandy and I met.
Mm-hmm.
See how much they called her Sandy?
Yep.
Okay, go on.
Very politically dominated in terms of our conversation. We both were working on Bernie's campaign over the summer and went to some rallies together, started talking about political action, and realized kind of at the same time that we were thinking about going to Standing Rock and trying to figure out a way to do it. So I was planning on driving out on my way to Missouri because that's how I usually get there, as a crazy drive from New York. And we decided to do it all together.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yep.
Awesome.
Yeah, and I guess for me, it's Josh, aka White Chocolate, and if you watch the videos, you understand what that
Josh,
means.
stop trying to make white chocolate happen. It's not going to happen.
That's right.
What does that even mean? White chocolate. Ugh.
Yep.
Go on.
Anyway, I've known Maria, and from New York, we know each other, and I had decided on my own. I said to myself, I really want to go out there, and then Maria mentioned it to me, and I was like, wait a second, this is too coincidental, and so it's interesting because we each had decided to go independently, and then we all just found out that this was going to work between us. And it did, and we got there, and, we raised the money and everything. It was, so basically that's it. But I just met Sandy first thing in the car, and Alexandria, and, here we are.
Yeah, Josh and I did not know each other at all.
No. There was hot Cheetos in the car, there was plain Cheetos.
And plenty of bonding experience on the way, I guess.
Yeah, so. Definitely. We know each other pretty well, I would say.
Yeah.
Totally.
So she's like, so just to be clear, Josh and I and you guys, I didn't know him. We didn't know each other. Just to be clear.
None of us knew each other.
We didn't know each other. No, and then Josh is like, no, we did not. But we got to know each other pretty good on that trip, huh? Mm-hmm. So now we know each other really good. It's like, oh my goodness,
totally.
People.
Yeah.
So I guess I'll start with. Oh wait, if everyone could mute their mics.
Yeah. So at first, what really attracted me, Sandy, was when you were talking about the human connection there, right? Mm-hmm. Like that to me was really powerful. And then when Santiago was asking a question about how could he help, you said go to Standing Rock. And oftentimes I think I don't want to go there because I think, I'm just going to be like somebody else that might not be able to help, right? And so when you guys said that, it really sparked me to reconsider going. And so I just want.
Okay, did you hear the same exact rhetoric that we heard in the interview?
Yep.
So people like, how can you help? The way you can help, come to Standing Rock.
Yep.
Or donate. Mm-hmm. Or donate if you want to donate. Thank you, by the way, for the donations for Standing Rock. We still need them. I know you probably heard people saying they shut down the camp. No, we're still here. they're still here, and we need you to come, and we need you to donate. So, and they're doing it after Sandy left.
Yep.
The 28th of December. That's when this video is happening. Okay.
I want to know from you guys why we should be going rather than helping out monetarily, or maybe both, right? And then the
both.
second part was that I was very excited when I saw that white chocolate had a photography and film background. I was very excited to bring in Jonathan and Tom, who are videographers and photographers, with me, so we could do something that could provide more action and educate people. So I guess my second question is, like, what are you guys doing with your footage? Could you actually take footage on camp? What are some limitations there?
Yeah, sure. Josh, Maria, you guys want to hop in on that? Or sorry, Josh, Maria.
Before they answer this question, she just basically asked a general question about taking footage at camp. What do you think the answer might be, Duke, to that question?
She's wondering if she should go there and take footage of camp.
No, that wasn't the question.
All right.
The question was a generalized question about taking footage in the camp.
Yeah.
Pictures, video, I'm assuming recording things of any kind, right? So, with just that as the general question, what do you think might be the answer to that, given that you were at the camp?
Well, the real answer is that it's not that easy to do, but AOC's answer is going to probably be, sure, you can go in there and take all sorts of footage. We did, but, you're really restricted. You have to get media passes. You had restrictions on who you could film and how you could film. I mean, you basically would have to ask permission for pretty much all the pictures and all the video, especially interviews and video that you take. That was
they're trying to be very, very restrictive. So what I can tell you, though, is that that's not the answer you're about to hear. It's I think it might shock you because
I haven't seen it, so
Yeah. Listen to what the answer is.
All right.
She's like, you took a photographer. I want to know.
Yeah, is it cool? Yeah, I was going to chime in. Because the reason that I will speak now is because I very specifically had a media project in mind when I got there, and I wasn't sure what the story was going to be.
He had a media project in mind when he got there.
Oh, I see.
Tell us more.
I've been taking pictures for a long time, but I'm also very sensitive to the fact that this is an action. There are opponents who are powerful, and there is some surveillance going on there. And how am I going to be greeted as a person with a camera saying, "Hey, can I take your picture?" And the thing is, here's the thing: there is no media there, none.
There is surveillance going on, and doesn't it sound like the kind of wild ramblings of somebody that doesn't want to finish a sentence?
Yep, exactly.
Go ahead.
Okay, so no mainstream media. Maybe I saw a couple people here and there with cameras. I saw literally one person with a press pass, on their sleeve. And I asked for one, and because it's kind of, calmed down, they were like, "Well, you don't really need one." But the point is that it does require a degree of sensitivity. However, it's totally possible. You just need to be very specific about what your intentions are, and and you have to be very mindful about how you're going to use that media. Whatever video you do, whatever photography you do, make sure that you're being sensitive to the people involved, and also the whole camp, the camp as a whole. There are things that you want to cover, there are things that you do not, and you just need to be sensitive to that. But I actually got a lot of positive feedback. Most of the people that I asked to photograph, they said yes, and certainly exposure at this point can't hurt, and I think that's where people responded to.
I think that there's sort of two things. Like you said, in terms of like the barriers to people's and people were generally very open, and I think you got a lot of people that were super receptive. But besides the fact that there's like DAPL, and there was some hesitance from people that were like, oh well, don't take pictures in the kitchen because they might use that footage to close down our kitchens and say that there's a health code violation, things like that.
Don't take pictures in the kitchen.
Sounds
Which
like-
one? Where everybody said people were smoking pot? Is that the kitchen that they're talking about?
Maybe.
I don't know. It sounds very interesting.
It's important to remember security-wise, things like that, and be aware of it.
Exactly.
There's also, though, the issue of the sacred spiritual nature of what's going on in camp, and that everything there is essentially ritual. Obviously, like in rituals, like no footage taken of the sacred fires, no footage of the musical instruments of the divine, but there you will across people's entire camp is in essence ritual, and are not comfortable on that basis with filming. But I think that was
So the whole camp is basically ritual. That's what Susanna Sandoval said
Yep,
too.
that's right. That's right.
The whole camp.
a case-by-case basis, and generally one that people were open to because the need for the story to be told and the need for people to know what's happening is greater. But it's just something I think to be aware of, that there's those two issues at play that could be a barrier for that.
And if I could hop in here, there's, in terms
Sandy
of like
has
what
advice.
we'd actually be doing with the footage, that's a whole other question as well. There are a lot of people, even though there isn't a ton of media out there right now, there are a lot of people making documentaries, making vignettes.
Yeah.
What? So
Movie
all of a
makers.
sudden, now that they're gone, Joshua, truth be told, he had a media project in mind when he went down there. And Sandy's got to raise her. Have an opinion on this.
Yeah.
I know I was only a reporter for one day, but in terms of what are you going to do with this material? What are you going to do with this footage? Let me tell you. It's there wasn't a lot of media people out there, but there was
People making movies.
doing movies. People were doing movies, and I was aware of it.
Pulling footage and trying to do things with that footage. And I think what's important is really trying to find something unique to do with this footage. And so, like our Facebook Live approach was not super planned in advance at all. This Facebook launched
Not at all.
the live platform to us like in the last 6 to 8 weeks. It was really, really recent. This is not something that we had really planned, but we thought, I don't even know, maybe 48 hours before we even left, we were like, hey, wouldn't it be cool if we Facebook Live this thing? But I do think it'd be really important to, whether it's the means of distribution or...
Yeah.
Yeah, she's like, it's got to be special. Whatever
Secret
it is,
footage.
it's got to be very special. But see, yes, sounds like this Hangout chat was so important. They actually had notes, and they posted them.
Really?
Let me show you
No sensitivity there, I suppose.
Well, let me show you on the December 28 Hangout chat screen capture. The one below it is if you scroll down on the notes there, it says, Bruna says, taking notes here. And she puts the Google
There's a Google Doc.
Docs link.
Okay.
And I thought, well, here it is, almost 4 years later. Is there a possibility this thing is still there?
Yep.
Yes, it was.
Really?
Let me show you some of the notes from this Road to Standing Rock document with all of these parts, which was taken on December 30th, 2017, it says at the top. Or maybe, I don't know. That's what it says. This video was uploaded on December 28th. And it says, there is currently no media there. These are all things that came from this Hangout chat. You have to be specific about your intentions and be mindful of how you will use media. You have to make sure that you are being sensitive about the people involved in the media that you collect. You have to recognize the sacred and spiritual nature of the camp. Everything is a ritual. Music instruments, sacred fires, everything. The entire camp is ritual. And it might not be comfortable. They might not be comfortable with filming. And then this is a case-by-case basis. Yes, only some people were allowed to film. Others were not. That's what the case-by-case basis was.
Exactly.
If you were the media allies of these folks, you got to film. And it says, find something unique to do with the footage. Facebook Live launched a few weeks ago, and this was unplanned for Sandy's strategy. This was unplanned for Sandy's strategy. What's Sandy's strategy? Is that the name of a new novel that she's writing? Sandy's campaign strategy? And then it says, thing about your angle. I think it means think. A lot of people come from an objective point of view, but focusing on your personal testimony is important. Direct experiences. Okay, you have to have direct experiences. Somebody has to give you an Indian name. Is that what that means?
Yeah.
Mindful, okay, more impactful to send more uncut raw footage now versus edit. It is more impactful to send uncut footage now versus editing. They really need people in the wintertime! ! Mm-hmm. There are always times when they were asking to submit a prayer. They participated in many spiritual rituals. See?
Yeah.
Many.
Yep.
They were happening all the time at the drop of a hat.
Mm-hmm. Everything was.
Okay. What does a community really need? What were the engagements that you had? What are they calling for in terms of monetary help and media help? This is fundraising and media.
Yep.
Notes. People to come for your thoughts, for your attention. Camp is quite well stocked. Huh? What is called for is to come with an attitude, coming to help where help is needed. Each day will be different. They need bodies.
What for?
Showing up and having the attitude. Being open to camp time. And that is what is most needed. If an elder stops you, you stop. Don't be in a hurry. Let things happen to you. What the hell does that mean?
I don't know. An elder's just going to stop you when you're walking.
And then if they do, you got to stop.
Yep.
And then presumably do whatever they tell you to do, I guess. I don't know. Okay. Let things happen. That let things happen sounds creepy to me. I don't like it. I don't feel it. Show up with an open heart. Okay. And then it says, let the stories that need to appear. This language is so bizarre to me, Rob. Look at it.
You're on drugs.
Let the stories that need to appear to you.
It's like
a ghost?
Like a vision.
What is this? There's so much more that you need to participate in. Okay? You need to have time to leave your camera behind. Okay, so is your first priority the camera? Yeah. Is this for media people only? Mm-hmm. Be present, be attentive, be open. You will be monitored in such a way that you'll be present.
Huh.
Sorry.
Mentored.
You will be mentored in such a way that you will be present. Were you mentored?
No.
This is for the people they're talking to, though. That you're going to be mentored. They don't just hand out mentors at the door when you come in.
Yeah.
In order to be most effective, you need a guide and a mentor. Oh, it's a requirement if you want to be effective, Duke. We missed out on this memo.
Mm-hmm. And Sandy can connect you with those people. She had a whole list of mentors and guides.
Sandy can connect you with the guides and the mentors. Were people going to Standing Rock to become honeykeepers or whatever the hell that was?
Yep.
Do you see the culty aspect of this now? Okay. How come they weren't saying none of this in the beginning?
Yeah.
If you're going to Standing Rock after Sandy got there, You need a guide, you need a mentor, and the Sandy is the hookup. And you know what? When she was doing in the interview with Susanna says, hey, if you want to get hooked up with my mentors, call Sandy. It says it in the notes, folks.
Yep.
There it is. Sandy is apparently the assistant to Susanna.
Yep.
And then they give a packing list of things. One of the things on here, bundles of sage and tobacco for gifting. Mm-hmm. Those are used for spiritual purposes. You should bring your own skirt if you're a woman. Nothing needed specifically for men. Don't walk around with feathers and dream catchers. Next. Logistics about getting there. They encountered a tense situation when they came in. You mean the armed confrontation? Sandy was courteous and non-confrontational at checkpoint. But you went down a closed road. Mm-hmm. That's a little bit confrontational. You're lucky you didn't get cited and turned back. It says you need to prepare to have your phone tapped, monitored, and be considered an activist. Once you get into the reservation, you will be monitored. Parallel to the civil... I believe it. Mm-hmm. I believe what they're telling me. They sound like they helped to organize the whole dang thing.
Yep.
You will not see confrontations at camp. Camp is a sacred space. The frontline warriors are trained for nonviolent direct action, and that happens outside camp. These warriors prepared themselves spiritually not to retaliate. Boy, they know a whole hell of a lot of what was going on in the operations and where things happen, where the confrontations take place. They don't take place in camp. They take place outside of camp. There's an effort of intimidation, and try not to get too caught up in that. There are deliberate checkpoints, and the most obvious way is to cause you to get there at night. Check in with your hosts regarding roadblocks. We had to report our checkpoint to the camp because it was a new one they had recently created.
Right.
They are expecting it to get worse after January 20th, and they have an opportunity to prepare. Donald Trump has over $500,000 invested in the pipeline among Jerry Perry and Governor of North Dakota. There's an expectation that things are going to get more tense. So when I tell you that she knew things were going to become more dangerous as she's inviting people to go there, that things are going to get worse and more dangerous, it's in their notes that they know that.
Yep.
They make it clear. They don't make any qualms about the fact that they're telling people to go and put themselves in danger. Okay? And then it says, Camp will move in the next month or so because of the river flood in February. That never happened.
That's
and
right.
The reason they moved the camp was because the last child's camp was all to go on this private property where everyone was going to get arrested, mass arrested.
Yep.
And that's exactly what happened. Camp will be going through a major transformation. Oh, they knew about the transformation.
Yeah, reorganization.
Yep. They knew about it. Contacts in area of construction, winter camping, and solar and power energy. And they knew about Standing Rock represents the confluence of many issues. 1850 treaty land. Over the years, the U.S. has taken land without formal agreements. This is the propaganda behind why they were doing the protests, right? Calling to stop DAPL, restoring of the 1850 treaty, and water for the 17 million people that is jeopardized. The camp land is private land. That's a lie. That's an out-and-out lie because we know that it was not land that belonged to the person that said that she had a right to use it. It says that it was loaned to the Lakota Sioux no, it was not. That's why they were able to remove them as soon as they wanted to. DAPL is drilling till this day, $3,000, $3,500 fine. Okay, is that the last one?
No.
And they also talked about Obama and clear delineating lines to the front lines. One of the front lines has a bridge between Native Americans and the DAPL line. If you go past that bridge, it's considered DAPL can arrest you and cause you harm. DAPL doesn't cross the bridge either. You see how they know a lot of what transpired when the veterans were there, before she even got there. A lot of these things happened before she even got there, because by the time she got there and left and was doing this video, it was about to close. So I wanted to just show you. I don't want to have to keep going through these. Let's flash to the last one real quick. I just wanted to show you the extent to which she was involved in planning and all of the propaganda around it. And in this one, they talk about Susanna. She spells it with a Z, but Susana Sandoval is who I assume she is speaking of. She says Susana is no longer at camp. She's 5 minutes at a hotel in the reservation with a large camp.
I don't know what that sentence means.
I know. Tribal council are deciding today where the camp is being relocated because of the flood. That never happened.
Yep.
Natural aspect of what happens in the air. No, it's not. This is by no means stopping. Yes, it did. Only about a month later. Camp is consolidating. There are 5 camps. Camp Stone is Sacred Stone is a similar one, but central, but more ceremonial. Rosebud is where a lot of natives from Standing Rock are. Ocheti is where allies and natives are hanging out. She knew them all, dude.
Yeah.
She knows. Susanna is setting up with some meetings with Congress officials. Oh, Christina Hollenbeck was doing that too.
Oh, yeah.
A lot of the people that were working around Bernie Sanders people were doing exactly that, and the veterans. And then it says she wants help to get women into these congressional meetings. So as Native American women? Today's was the environmental impact study that was mandated by the EPA that DAPL was supposed to turn in. DAPL is trying to delay things, and until Trump takes office, Susana is looking for environmental contacts in the Sierra Club.
Wow.
Another group.
Yep.
Also invited in the Border Support Network, and we saw them involved at Standing Rock. So there you have it. Clear evidence that she was super involved, knew way more than most people could learn after being there just for a few days. I mean, there was a lot of people on the ground that filled her in like they were briefing her for her campaign, which is what I'm assuming was exactly what happened. And after that, she left immediately to go spend the holidays with her family in Puerto Rico. And here's her post about it. You have to go down to the bottom where it shows the date of this post, which was on...
This is 3 years ago.
Yes, but it's, it says Happy New Year's from Puerto Rico.
Oh, okay.
Flew in
December
just in time
31st.
to
Okay.
celebrate with my family.
Wow.
And then this next one shows you she was there with Joshua and Susana and Maria.
Really?
It says, yes, on January 4th, she posted on her page, Minnie Wichoni from Puerto Rico. Going to Standing Rock as a Boricua made me ask a lot of questions. My great-grandfather was a medicine man. My grandmother, worked on a plantation. And my mother spent many years raising my family while cleaning homes in New York.
Wow.
Indigenous DNA makes up a significant part of my genome. It commingles with the DNA of Spanish colonists who eliminated them from existence and the African slaves they replaced them with. Puerto Ricans clearly struggle with this in the broader culture as they try to rediscover and maintain what little strands of indigenous and African culture may have been sneaked from our ancestors to ancestors. Part of being Puerto Rican is to be all these things and none of them at the same time. It is to be something very old and something very new. It's still figuring that out. She told us in this post that her daddy was a medicine man.
Yeah.
Did she ever tell that to anybody before she went to Standing Rock? Inquiring minds want to know. I have a suspicion that this is the first we've heard. Folks, you can't make it up. I will be bringing you more. There's a lot more to peel back the layers in this saga. We might take a break to cover some other
pressing issues
or breaking news as well. But we will see you again here on Mexican Crossing Lines with your host, Cindy Gomez-Schempp.
And Duke Gomez-Schempp.
You've been listening to 88.1 FM, KPPP Fargo Moorhead, where we are adding local color to your airwaves. Have a great evening.